Welcome to another Open Democracy podcast on Tuesday, 8th of May 2012. I'm very, very pleased to have Simon Critchley here to talk to us. So a lot of you, I think, will know Simon from some of his previous books, also from the Stone, which he edits, which is the New York Times philosophy blog. Possibly the only place in the mainstream Anglo-Saxon media where philosophers are asked to comment, and Simon edits that. He's also chair of philosophy at New School of Social Research in New York. Is that Hannah Arendt's chair, or did she have?
I've got the Hans Jonas chair, was Hans Jonas was the other guy.
Right, he was the other guy. Okay.
We don't actually have an Hannah Arendt chair.
Oh, there's no. Okay, she just had. Okay.
No, Agnes Heller was the last Hannah Arendt chair.
Okay. Well, we were just chatting about Hungary, weren't we? But and then Simon has just come out this absolutely fascinating book, The Faith of the Faithless, Experiments in Political Theology, which has just come out with Verso, and we'll be talking about this afternoon. So, Simon, welcome.
Thank you very much.
I'd have to say, I thought the book is absolutely fascinating, completely stunning. A real, quite rare to see such a to have so much. I've had a lot of excitement reading it because it's a look on politics that is extremely fresh and makes a lot of sense. I mean, there are a lot of distinctions in it. There are a lot of surprises in it. It's beautifully written, it's very lively, and is really exciting.
Just right there. That's just on the head.
Okay, well that was great. Bye.
Bye, Sam. Terrific.
Yeah. So there are lots of ways into this one. Because actually, one of the things about the books is the book is that it covers a huge amount in a rather loosely woven way. I shouldn't say loose. I may call it loosely woven.
Yeah,
so one way in, it seems to me, would be this, and you come in pretty close to this. This is Kant's unsolved problem of reason and morals, of the categorical imperative, which is that actually the problem is that fine, you can impose a requirement of consistency, which is where reason will get you, but this never will motivate you to any kind of good. It simply is inert, and in fact, I think that people who were fed David Hume will be very familiar with the observation, Hume's famous observation that reason never moves you to do anything.
Slave of the passions.
Exactly, slave of the passions. So you take that. That's one of your starting points, and you very quickly come to will state that therefore politics has to be treated as theology. Can you fill in a few of the dots between the problem with the categorical imperative and why then is theology the way in which we need to think about politics?
Right. Well, I suppose I start from Hume's problem, right? Not that reason is a slave of the passions, but reason without the passions is empty. So that and the first 100 pages of the book are on Rousseau. Rousseau and Hume had a difficult friendship because Rousseau was crazy, but in many ways their positions there are odd echoes in their positions, particularly on the question of the role of sentiment. So the way of responding to Kant is to sort of go back behind Kant and say, well, the hero of the story is Rousseau, and Rousseau is often seen as a kind of lisping Kant, as some sort of confused Genovese progenitor for the German idealists, for Kant and the German idealists, who are, who should be taken more seriously. And I see things exactly the opposite. I see Rousseau as anticipating the problems that Kant wouldn't solve with his work, and doing that in a series of extraordinary new forms. So Rousseau develops the form of the autobiography, the reverie, all these different. Every piece of writing he produces, the essay in anthropology, discourse on inequality, he invents a new genre. And for me, the social contract is the wrong. The only thing that's wrong with that book is the title. He's not really a social contract theorist, but apart from that, it's a very good book on politics and political institutions. And for Rousseau, reason can, if you like, establish through argumentation the formal requirements on, let's say, a just society, a just polity, the way what he would call a legitimate political order. But there needs to be a supplementary number of supplementary factors in order for reason to have an effect. So reason to have the chance of producing or taking effect in a certain location. There needs to be an account of what Rousseau calls the mores of the people, in French, les mœurs, the traditions, the customs of the place, and the customs and traditions of the place, insofar as they can be linked to the formation of what he calls a civil religion, right? So the trick in Rousseau is that an egalitarian, just society, to become effective, must be linked to local conditions, local traditions, and all the rest. This is why Rousseau isn't a revolutionary, right? And nor am I, in a way.
Well, he has been accused of that, but let's get on to that later.
It's used by the revolutionaries, for sure. But for Rousseau, we need to build off the basis of what there is on the ground. Now, so it's not so... And then we need to make a distinction roughly and readily between, say, not theology and religion, but what I'm talking about is civil religion or civil theology.
And would we think of it as being a sort of sociological or anthropological account of what it is that provides people with the meanings and the narratives that make them do this rather than that? Is that the kind of thing that we're talking about?
It is. I mean, to that extent, I don't really think of myself as a political philosopher, nor do I think of political philosophy as a particularly interesting category. I think that politics requires, at the first moment, an understanding of history, for sure, and secondly, a deep anthropological understanding, right, of the way in which specific social formations have taken shape. And Rousseau, to his credit, tried to do that in his sketch, The Constitution of Poland, a late text from 1772. And he also wrote a short text on Corsica. The point was that for him, politics, the theories of politics was fairly clear. He lays that out in the social contract. And that's, and Kant would have agreed with that, which is why Kant had a picture of Rousseau.
But the last section of the social contract is on civic religion, and that is very un-Kantian, isn't it?
Yeah, that's very un-Kantian. And Rousseau's argument there, and the example he has in mind is Rome, as always, is that in order for, if like in Kantian terms, the moral law to take root in the hearts of human beings, it requires something else. Now, Kant too came to that position in his later work. The moral law was all very well, and it was legitimate. It was the only basis for a notion of justice, but it required something like what he called the fact of reason, which is this very obscure term in Kant's second critique. And the fact of reason had to be grounded in some notion of religion, right? So Kant, that religion was going to be within the limits of reason alone, for sure, for Kant, but it still required some sort of religious basis.
And he allows some, just a glimpse of emotion, doesn't he? I mean, he allows awe, doesn't he, as the one one bridge, as it were, to the
or
Achtung.